Hi, I'm Mike Love, known as Mike Love of the Beach Boys, and you're tuned into Rock Cellar TV.
Rock Cellar TV, 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 Rock Cellar TV.
Growing up, what were the go-to records for you? The records that were in that permanent rotation on that 45 stack?
I would have to say, Fats Domino, Chuck Berry, Little Richard, Jerry Lee Lewis, all the early rock and roll guys. Everly Brothers was an amazing influence on us because of their blend and their neat songs, really great songs. And of course, then, we became aware of the Four Freshmen and their amazing vocal harmonies, which they call them modern harmonies back in the 40s and 50s. But we became, really fascinated, obsessed perhaps about learning a few of the arrangements, which we did, and we still do one to this day. But the doo-wop stuff that was on the R&B stations back in L.A. In the 50s was an enormous influence on us. Loved it. I like to sing the bass parts. My cousin Brian would sing the high parts. We'd get my sister or my Aunt Audrey or my cousin Carl, who was, very young at the time, but we'd get together just to create those harmonies. So it was always about harmonies for us. But straight ahead rock and roll was good too, But of course, we sang as family together at Christmas gatherings, at birthday parties, at Thanksgiving, any special occasion. In fact, my mom would invent reasons to have a party. She was way into music. She sang light opera in high school, and she was a very talented dancer, singer, and everything. But she had 6 kids, I being the oldest, so she didn't pursue her own career, but she was very capable of it. And she was really good friends with Audrey Wilson, who's married to her brother Murray, father of Brian, Dennis, and Carl, my first cousins. And she would say things like Audrey was the most talented, musically talented person she'd ever met. She had a great ear. And I think Brian Wilson and Carl, and Dennis, they got a lot, not only from their father's side, the Wilsons, but from their mother's side. So it was all about early rock and roll, doo-wop, combined with the Everlys and Four Freshmen.
When did you first realize you could sing harmony, that you actually could sing and you had a good voice, but were able to lock into harmonies? Because a lot of people can't do that.
Yeah, there are a lot of great groups with a great lead singer and a fantastic band, and many of them have done enormously well. But the thing that has always distinguished the Beach Boys, I think, and was our ability to harmonize, but not only sing the note, but blend. It's kind of like sublimating your individual sound in favor of creating a really fantastic blend. And we've always, we got a little bit of that from the Everly Brothers, and we got a little bit of that from the Four Freshmen. But it's the way we sound when we sing together is what gave us that distinctive, or distinguished us from many other groups who are great groups, and even some that do harmonies, but not everybody can do that 4-part close harmony like the Four Freshmen did. And my cousin Brian once did an arrangement of the Lord's Prayer, which when we played it for the Wrecking Crew guys, and Bill Medley was there, and he remembers it. And it's a mind-blowing arrangement. It's fantastic. It's beautiful, and it's the Lord's Prayer. So, it was just an amazing thing. The bass part I sang on it moved around, like Chuck Berry said, like a wayward summer breeze. It was all over the place. It was, so that was just, I think, it was the most incredible arrangement that Cousin Brian ever did.
But when did you know that you could sing harmony? When did you first realize that, I can lock into it? Was it early on?
With Christmas parties or birthday parties. And back in the well, let's see. I remember Brian Wilson singing. The first time I have a memory of him singing was sitting on my grandmother Wilson's lap, singing Danny Boy, and his voice is just celestial. It's amazing. But then once that part of it was over, we'd get together and we'd sing, we'd harmonize together, just the two of us. And if we could find a third, we would, and a fourth. Sometimes we would go to Angeles Mesa Presbyterian Church, Wednesday night youth night in the Baldwin Hills area of LA. And my sister Maureen, who was 2 years younger than I, Brian's 1 year younger than I, we would walk home together singing Everly Brothers in 3 parts, or some of the doo-wop stuff. And so it was ever since childhood is we sang harmony together. So, you know, and we always loved it.
You come from a very tight family. You know, looking back on your parents, was there any advice that they gave you or that stuck with you through the years, things that they told you that you still hold dear to yourself?
Well, my mom was the one that was into music. My dad was just a hardworking guy. He didn't know anything about the music business. He provided for a wife and 6 children. I remember him going to work in the morning and like leaving the house at 6 a.m. and sometimes working 7 days a week if they had to get a job out. So I think I got the work ethic from my dad. There's no doubt about that. Was a big impression on me. But the music came from my mom's side, and the fact that they grew up in Dust Bowl conditions. They left Kansas when my mom was 5 years old. She and some of her siblings came out to California on the train. And they were so poor that they camped on the beach. They didn't have money for a house or anything like that. And so it was, you know, it was like, they talk about the Okies coming to California. Well, it was Dust Bowl conditions. This is even before the crash of 1929 or something. So, you know, but what they had was music. What they had was the love of music and the love of, you know, my uncles sang together, my mom sang in a trio and all that. So it was the love of music that kept everybody, you know, sane and provided pleasure and entertainment, because they didn't have any money to speak of. And on my father's side, my grandfather had the good sense to emigrate from northern rural Louisiana to California and started working in what they call sheet metal work and did kitchen equipment. So that was hard work, but he provided well for his family, my dad and his brother and sister. So, you know, there's between the work ethic and the music and the love of music. Even my dad, who wasn't particularly a musician or anything, he had a couple of songs he would sing. He practiced the cello because my mom wanted him to play something. And so, yeah, so it was just, it's never lost on me that we came from very humble beginnings, my parents, but through hard work, they really succeeded in life and really built a great foundation for our success.
What were their favorite records of yours that you participated on with the Beach Boys? What were your parents' favorite records of yours?
I think
with the Beach Boys?
My sister Maureen played the harp In My Room and Catch a Wave. And I have 2 sisters that play the harp. In fact, in my home that I grew up in, we had a Steinway grand piano, a Hammond organ, and a Lyon & Healy harp right in the living room, overlooking the city of LA. It's a beautiful home. And it was just, music was just an obsession, I guess you could call it, from my mom. She would play opera music. She didn't like rock and roll so much. We would have a hi-fi stereo system, and she would turn up Maria Callas, Renata Tebaldi, Enrico Caruso to as loud as it would go. But if we turned our rock and roll past, 5 or 6, halfway up, and she would rebel. She didn't like that. Anyway, she did, however, love the harmonies, all the beautiful harmonies that in my room and the warmth of the sun. She was very proud that my sister Maureen played on a couple of our records, and it gave it a beautiful harp. Was an incredible addition to our stuff. But my sister Maureen and Brian and I used to sing together, coming home from that Wednesday night youth night. So it just, there's so many wonderful contributions by everybody in the group.
Yeah. How about your father? What was his favorite Beach Boys song?
I don't know. That's a good question. I don't know if he had a favorite Beach Boys song, but he had a favorite Beach Boys concert. We went to the Anaheim Stadium. It was sold out, and my mom and dad didn't go to all of our concerts, but they went to that one, and they were stoked, as we would say.
Is that the one where you wear that gold glitter jacket?
It may have been. It may
You
have
had
been,
some
yeah.
pretty interesting.
Yeah, I also had a Miley, gold-plated Miley lei that I got in Hawaii that Jeff Foskett used to call it the golden seaweed.
What was the turban about, by the way? That was.
Hey, I
interesting.
beg your pardon.
The
I'm a
turban.
multicultural guy,
That was
Yeah.
an interesting look.
Yeah, well, I've done all the looks. I've had the beard that was pre-Duck Dynasty and more like ZZ Top, and so yeah. In fact, I remember seeing that beard. Then we did the Tonight Show with Johnny Carson. I was watching the show at my home in Manhattan Beach, and I saw how that looked on TV. It was like this red beard. It was like this long, and I went up on a what do you call it, on a commercial break, and just cut it right, not off, but trimmed it significantly. So because you just let it grow and grow and grow, and pretty soon you're looking like Duck Dynasty or ZZ Top. Nothing wrong with ZZ Top. I really like Billy Gibbons and his playing. Okay, and don't mean to be disparaging in any way.
Roxella TV, Roxella TV, Roxella TV, Roxella TV, Roxella TV, Roxella TV.